So my name is Adeoye. I'm a master's student at the University of Toronto studying statistics. My interests lie in statistical decision theory, modeling, statistical learning. So I've really enjoyed this course. It's kind of aligned a lot with some of my interests. So it was a very interesting period for me. My objective in this project was to try to attempt to answer a few questions that I thought was, kind of relevant to the substance of the program. So what I did was to try to identify communities in networks, in local networks. So communities are typically present in vast networks. Some of the more relevant studies in this area typically would use Facebook data sets or Twitter data sets. But these data sets have actually been explored to death. So my objective was to try to create a new data set I considered more local by extracting information from Nigeria's biggest online forum, which is called Nairaland. So I come from Nigeria, so this was just an attempt to answer questions that I thought were relevant to my own community. So Nairaland was created in 2008, and it has grown into a really large community, though it's still mostly used by Nigerians and maybe some other Africans. The topics usually would be like subjects on religion, politics, crime, sometimes some international subjects, but not often time, So my question was to propose a situation whereby the owner of the website wanted to determine who should be new moderators, that those who would function with helping to moderate discussion on specific threads or in specific sections. So if you wanted to do that, you would not just be looking for people who have the highest number of posts, because that will not really translate to significant engagement. So you would be looking for posters or users who have less superficial connections with other posters, those who have deeper connections. So basically, in what I'm restricting my definition of a moderator to right now is somebody who is, very engaged with, other users on the forum. So there are no other qualifying assumptions here. So to do this, I proposed exploring the network created by user posts. That is, this is how I defined the problem. So my project involved actually defining a problem, a new problem. So if a user quotes another user, an edge is drawn between those two users, and every user is a node. So we should have a network of nodes and edges. And a node with a high degree would be a significant node, or a node with a significant page rank also could be an important node. And these nodes will usually be central to the conversations happening in the network. And they may turn out to be important new moderators should the owner of the website want to choose moderators. So we're using two key metrics here: the degree of the node and the page rank of the node, while we're also trying to explore the communities formed around these nodes. So, but to answer this question, I needed to first extract the data sets, which is what I did. I extracted information from a particular thread just to demonstrate a proof of concept, discussing travel issues. On this thread, Nigerians typically discuss travel issues related to giving birth in the United States, which is a somewhat popular decision made by elite Nigerians. The thread under consideration was more 412 pages long and had been active since 2017. So it seemed like an appropriate thread to conduct, these experiments with. The duration should also allow us to see the growth of the network. So some exploratory analysis showed those who contributed most to, the thread, and you may observe here just twice or a circuit in this slide. That's because he's a moderator. So it shows immediately, he is the only moderator in that section. So it shows immediately as one of the more, frequent posters. But we'll see how it performs in the node configuration overall. And this, we can then extend this to, identifying other potential moderators. So this is just me using my domain knowledge here to qualify my exploratory analysis. So we can see here just twice again in the 2017 node configuration. Just to note, I developed networks around each year's data, so from 2017 to 2021. So just twice appears pretty significant here in 2017 node configuration. We see other nodes too, and can start to get an idea of some of the more important nodes in the network. One of the ways to determine the importance of a node would be to weigh the edges between connections based on the number of interactions between them. So I did that here. But another way would be to probably penalize edges based on nodes they are connected to. You know, so if I want those nodes to play less, they may have more connections, but I want them to matter less. I could penalize the edges. I didn't do that here, but I'm proposing that as, you know, future research. The 2018 data is a video I just kind of show how the networks are connected. It's a little, you know, denser than the 2017. And here our tools of analysis start to become more important because we're visiting a dense network. So the tools I used were simply community detection algorithms, not like K-means or unlike K-means and KNN. Because those would not be suited for the purposes of this experiment. So I used one of the algorithms that I use is called the Closet-Newman-Moore algorithm, which is used for one-directed graphs to find communities by combining pairs that maximize the increase in modularity. So I took a departure here from the more popular machine learning modeling techniques like random forest or vector machine because they simply were not applicable for my problem. So the results are shown here, and we've found a lot of engagement in 2018, a lot more engagement in 2019. There was a decrease in engagement in 2020 and 2021, apparently due to the pandemic. But the more noticeable thing about the networks is that they have a large nucleus and appear highly central, with the exception of, you know, 2017. So in my opinion, this kind of suggested that the whole network is built around very few posters as users who continue to engage over the whole year so that, you know, there was less transition to other clusters over time. So, but who are these top posters? So together we need to simplify the network, and that's what I did. So we just basically identify like the top 5 nodes for the page rank, using the page rank definition or the node degree definition. It starts to become clear, you know, who the more important posters are. And we note here again in 2017, as I have circled, that's just twice. So it appears pretty evidently as one of the more important posters because he's an official moderator. And then we can also start to see those alongside him who it would seem may make, you know, better moderators. Like in 2017, for example, we can actually propose Nefertiti Ram as a moderator because they appear to have a higher node degree than the actual moderator himself. So in conclusion, I kind of answered some of the questions I proposed while using an unsupervised learning technique to identify communities in networks, and also use the definitions of node degree and page rank to qualify user nodes and see if we could then use this to create new moderators for the website. But more importantly, I found that I derive better value from learning using this data set since it is, you know, local to my community and probably unexplored. To my knowledge, this is probably the first time data sets related to this website has been explored in this kind of way. My plan is to put the data set out there and have Nigerians engage with it in order to learn things about their own community. And I have already started this on the same Naraland forum where a small community of data science enthusiasts is growing. And hopefully this will increase local participation in learning and in data science. So that's all I have.